Heyo. Hey, my mic's not fucked. Get this tiny little update for Apex. Just finalizing it right now. That was weird. Whoa. We got a treat. Innuendo Studios just put up a new vid. Haven't seen it yet. Hopefully it's gonna be dope. Cool. We got audio on the desktop. Oh yeah. All right. Alright, this guy usually has really good videos. Here, I need to apply some Dio and put a shirt on because I'm a sweaty boy. All right.
Someone's got to be oppressed.
Yes, it's all for the best.
Say, for the sake of argument, you've got this friend. You know, that one friend. You were buddies in high school, but don't really see each other anymore except online. And you used to argue about politics for fun when you were teenagers. But as you've gotten older, you've drifted further left, and he's gone sharply right. And your arguments don't feel so frivolous anymore.
I didn't have.
And maybe
like
you've agreed that it's better for your friendship to stop getting into it with each other.
No.
But you've just posted on Facebook about how college in America should be free and all student loans forgiven. And your friend has left a comment he's not supposed to leave. And you're not supposed to respond, but you really want to respond. So after a moment's hesitation, you shoot him a DM. Why do you care how we'd afford free tuition? Wars are a lot more expensive than education, but you never seem to care how we pay for those. We just go into debt and you're fine with it. Anyway, aren't you the party that says deficits don't matter?
Yeah, but you're Democrats. You're not going to run a deficit, you're going to raise taxes, aren't you?
Taxes are generally how governments pay for things.
Spoken like a proper socialist.
No socialist would call that socialism. Only you, and only when we pay for things you don't like. But when we build roads or subsidize corn, well, then you just call it government.
Those are things we can't pay for without governments. But we can pay for college ourselves. We've been doing it since forever.
Well, I hate to tell you this, but it's not the 1950s anymore. Time was you didn't need a degree to get a good job. Now you do. And you could pay for college waiting tables, but now you can't. Nowadays, college is a necessity, and people can't afford it.
True.
Why do liberals make excuses for people? If you want to go to college and don't have the money, then you study and work hard and get a scholarship. You earn it, instead of complaining until somebody gives it to you.
Do you think people aren't doing that? Do you think there's millions of unclaimed scholarships just lying around waiting for someone to apply for them? There is nowhere near enough financial aid to get everyone to college who needs to go.
That's not my problem. They can crowdfund, or get a loan, or whatever, go on Oprah. The government doesn't owe you an education on my dime.
It's not gonna be your dime. You don't make that much. No one's talking about raising your taxes. If some billionaire you'll never meet gets taxed to put some kid you'll never meet through school, why should you even care?
If somebody robs a bank that isn't my bank, I'm still opposed to robbery. I have a problem with taking money someone earned to give someone a degree they aren't owed.
Why is what happens to poor people not your problem, but what happens to rich people is? You think you're gonna be rich someday?
Oh, please, you're the one who thinks they're going to be rich.
I assure you I do not. But then he says something that blows your mind a little bit. Something that makes you think you've been going about this the wrong way. Something that makes all the seeming contradictions of Republican thought maybe make some kind of sense. He says,
Yes, you do. Democrats think they're going to take the money from billionaires and spread it around. Give it to a bunch of poor people so they can go to college, and everyone gets a degree, and everyone gets a good job, and healthcare is free, and minimum wage is $80 an hour, and everyone's saving lots of money. So what then? Everyone's rich. Everyone works in tech, everyone moves to New York and California, and nobody's a billionaire, and nobody's broke, and everyone's great at their job because all they needed was the right opportunity, and no one's better than anyone at anything. It's a fantasy, and we shouldn't have to pay you to LARP it. You think you can make everyone the same, but you can't. There's always a bigger fish.
You say, did you just quote the Phantom fucking Menace at me? And he says,
I guess I did, lol.
And that's as good a time as any to drop it. But the conversation sticks with you. See, when you talk to your conservative friend, you operate as though you have the same base.
Hold on a second, guys.
Assumptions. Belief in democracy, do unto others, etc.
Man, sorry about that. I'm in a really intense conversation with a friend right now.
Etc., etc. If
Friendship
you didn't
is
believe your friend
imploding on
shared these
itself.
assumptions, you'd basically be calling him a fascist or a sadist. And you conclude that if you believe in democracy, you must believe in equality. And if you believe in equality, you must believe in equal access to education, and must conclude that governments should help pay tuition. And so you give your friend the benefit of the doubt that if he doesn't understand this very simple logical progression, he either hasn't had it properly explained to him, or has at some point been lied to. Because no one could believe in all citizens are equal and always a bigger fish at the same time. But by this thinking, you're treating most conservatives as people who want in their hearts to be liberals, but have so far failed. And maybe that's why they think liberals are condescending? What if he doesn't have the same base assumptions as you? Or what if he does, but he has other assumptions you aren't aware of that lead him to different conclusions? He is often misinformed, but what if that isn't the problem? What if he actually believes something else? We've been circling around this one for a while. We've talked about what liberals believe, we've talked about what fascists believe, we've talked about what nihilists believe, or rather what they don't believe, or rather why they aren't actually nihilists. But this is a tough one. What do conservatives believe? Oh god, I'm gonna get yelled at so much for this one. The United States...
This is a really tricky question, honestly. If you were to ask me what conservatives believe, I would try to sum it up as, if you took the moral stories of the Bible and reworded them with today's language, that would be more or less what they believe. You know, like your Judeo-Christian values, basically. That's what I would say. Socially conservative, physically conservative. Let's see what he has to say.
Like much of the Western world, is a capitalist democracy. That's what we're raised in, that's what seems normal to us. And in our normal lives, democracy and capitalism seem to coexist easily. Voting doesn't feel like a violation of capitalism, buying a bagel doesn't feel like a violation of democracy. But sometimes they come into tension with one another. And speaking really broadly, when a choice between them has to be made, a liberal is someone who tends to think democratically, and a conservative is someone who tends to think like a capitalist. The operative word here is tend. Liberals are still capitalists, and conservatives still stand for democracy, and the preference for one or the other may be very slight. Nevertheless, which way a person leans reveals their priorities. The democratic framework, or at least a democratic framework, is one citizen, one vote. No matter who you are born with certain in or possibly unalienable rights, and any system that doesn't guarantee you those rights is a tyranny. Freedom, agency, and a hand in the strictures that govern you, everyone is entitled to these things. It's an egalitarian mindset. People gain power by electoral process, i.e., when it is granted to them by the masses, with whom the true power resides, and whom the Constitution guarantees the right to take that power away from an electee. Rather than powerful, the elected official is, in a sense, an employee with millions of bosses, all of whom have equal authority. Now, this is the idea of democracy, with the history of democracy being riddled with failures to live up to this ideal. But part of the project of liberalism has been about making the government more closely resemble its ideology. The capitalist framework, by contrast, is that of businesses and markets, where big fish eat the little ones. If two people start businesses in the same field and one makes more profit than the other, that person can make more investments, open more locations, undercut their competitors' prices. The more money you have, the more money you can make. So advantage compounds, where even small failures often mean getting muscled out of the field. Now, with some creativity, a novel cost-saving practice, or a new delivery method, the underdog can still thrive, and this is part of what conservatives like about the market, that it demands this creativity in a live ammo environment. But most will not beat the odds. That's how odds work. Since there will always be more failures than successes, the general trajectory of unregulated capitalism...
When you do something, it's not like you can... I mean, you can do things to kind of ensure the odds change a bit, But like when you start a business, you're flipping a coin, a weighted coin, basically. Especially nowadays. And the weighted coin, like the fail rate and the success rate. It's like that when you get married. When we do statistics about like failure and success rate, like they're pretty solid. Just on based on the average person. You know, so if you fit into a lot of the major, most important categories in an average sense, that's just going to increase your likelihood. So that would mean like if one of the most determining factors of success in a job was height, like the NBA, that would be a good example. So you have to be like 6, 7 feet to be successful in that generally. Well, that means on average, the success rate of getting into that job is going to be extremely low based on the fact that, like, most people aren't that tall. Then it'll be really hard to get that job, always, and there'll be a huge failure rate, and it won't be because people aren't good enough to play the game. It'll be because of a determining factor. I mean, in this case, that's kind of an outlier. It's an extremely heavy variable, but, you know, it can get very complicated as to why, like with a business. But that's really how it works, is there are certain variables that are heavier than others, and how you weigh up in those are the biggest determining factors. So when you are average in those determining factors, then you can look at your outcomes probabilistically on a statistical average. So if you're just an average guy, an average Joe, middle class, lower class, trying to start a business, then you have the average success rate, basically. Now, if you're just like, I mean, just because, I mean, money would be the biggest determining factor in starting the business anyway. So it's actually not that complicated. But okay, here we go.
Is money pooling into fewer and fewer hands. Things naturally sort themselves into a hierarchy with sharks at the top, a million minnows at the bottom. Since we live with both of these frameworks in our minds, and most of the things we do in our day-to-day lives can be justified by either one, we don't often notice the contradictions between them, and it's easy to imagine whichever one tends to be our default is everyone else's default as well. But issues like poverty, taxation, and education are areas where the contradictions matter, and we are sometimes shocked by how different the world looks to our conservative friends. In conservative thinking, this hierarchy is humanity's natural state. The American dream is here, anyone can make it. No matter who you are or what you start with, you can become a billionaire. But a necessary component of this is anyone can, but everyone can't. We're not all going to be billionaires. There's a finite amount of money in this country. For any one person to have so much more than they need, there must, mathematically, be thousands of people with less. Your conservative friend is often baffled as to what you're even trying to say when you point out there's not enough high-paying jobs or affordable health plans for everyone. There's not supposed to be. The system requires an underclass. Someone's got to clean the toilets. Capitalism then is a proving ground. It's how you demonstrate where in the hierarchy you deserve to be. Do you have more than you need or less? Anything you've got, you beat someone else to it. How resourceful were you? How well did you play? The field is by no means level, but any disadvantage just means you have to work harder. We know people who start with nothing can win big. If you're a shark, you will make your way to the top because that's where you belong. Anyone complaining about how stacked the deck is against them is making excuses for not being better at the game. So disadvantage itself is not a problem so long as it's quote-unquote natural. What's necessary is that advantage and disadvantage not be imposed from without. Free tuition, a high minimum wage, taxes on the wealthy.
Give me another second, guys. This fucking text conversation is getting intense. Yo, sorry about that.
or
This
any other kind of
text
government.
message conversation is really fucking destroying me right now. Whew, I had to get the tears out. I'm basically losing a friend in 5 years right now, so it sucks.
Meddling, these things must be
Let's get back to the show.
opposed, because with them, people would end up in the wrong places. Power has to be earned. If it isn't earned, it won't be properly wielded, and then society ends up a mess. Conservatives generally
This is a meritocracy. That's what he's describing.
feel what's wrong with the world today can be chalked up to people not being where they should be in the social order. They used to be where they belonged, but then liberals gummed everything up with their government handouts and forced representation. When
Right.
exactly things were the way they should be is a bit of a
Alright,
moving
put my
target.
beard oil
Nowadays,
on.
they
Give me a
act like it
second.
was the '80s. In the '80s, it was the '50s. And in the '50s, it was sometime before the New Deal. So, following the nostalgia cycle, it's usually about 30 years ago. Conservatives are distrustful of any effort to make society more equal because, deep down, they don't believe equal societies are real. Obviously, all citizens created equal needs to be the government's position, because you can't trust the government to know where to put people, so it has to treat everyone the same. But this is a legal fiction, like corporate personhood. It just means the government leaves the market alone, so the hierarchy can reveal itself. You're not supposed to believe in an equal distribution of power. What are you, 7? This is just the way the world is. Look at alpha wolves, silverbacks. Consider the lobster. You are one single individual within a system, and it is your job to rise or
Right.
fall within it on the sweat of
The natural hierarchy argument. There's a false equivalency, though, in this argument. He might call this out. What they're doing by showing this natural order, it's in bees, ants, it's in almost every animal, really. It's pretty observable in nature, in most wildlife with any kind of sentience and consciousness. But the thing about this is that, like, they're implying there's a morality in it. So they're saying, this is right. It's supposed to be like this. This is Jordan Peterson's argument, too. And that's kind of a weird argument to make, and you might wonder, why would they make that? And it feeds back into what I was saying earlier about the Judeo-Christian beliefs, because they'll say that hierarchy is right because God made it.
your own back. You don't change the system. Society's problems come from the rules being too weakly enforced. The answer's always more discipline. Your conservative friend thinks you're naive for thinking the system even can be changed, and his is the charitable interpretation. Many conservatives assume liberals, at least the smart liberals, know that the hierarchy is eternal, that there will always be people at the top and people at the bottom. So any claim towards making things equal must be a Trojan horse for something that benefits them. Why would they assume that? Because that's what they do. The real liberal agenda is to put people in the wrong places on purpose. Boost liberal allies, hold back liberal opposition. You don't want to break up the pyramid. You're just trying to sneak someone else to the top. A lot of conservative contradictions start to make sense through this lens. Of any issue, simply ask, does this distribute power or consolidate it? If power flows up the hierarchy, they're for it. If it flows down, they're against it. How can conservatives say 15 an hour is too much for flipping burgers, but somehow 11.5 million an hour isn't too much to run Amazon?
What?
Because if you're flipping burgers...
Does he really make that much an hour? Jesus, man, that's so wrong. An hour. Dude, if he makes that much an hour and he's getting taxed at 70%, it doesn't fucking matter at that point. Still. Okay, so what's 70% of 11.5 million? 11... 5 0 comma 0 right, divided by, I don't know, we want to do times 0.7. Okay, so that's minus 7.5. Okay, so take that minus out of the way. So that's how much he'd be making an hour after that, the tax that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is proposing. Jeff Bezos would still be making $3,450,000 an hour. Do you really think that's gonna hurt him in any fucking way? Like, this tax doesn't even actually cripple anybody. Because the people that make about 10 million a year, I mean, it's gonna make everyone that makes anywhere between, you know, like 10 to 100 million a year. It'll affect them a little. They'll have to cut back a little. That's not including what they already have, though. So it's like, I mean, you don't, this type of rate of spending money, like, you can't spend it this fast. You guys don't understand how much money this is. They already have all the jets and stuff. Like, they don't have anything more to buy. It's almost 2020. These people have been rich for like 10, 15, 20, 30 years. It doesn't fucking matter to them at all. So there's no reason to not tax them and use that money that they're not spending because it's impossible to and hiding offshores. Take that money and spend it on the things we need, like infrastructure, education, medicines, the healthcare. Fuck, dude. $11.5 million an hour.
burgers, you're a minnow, and you don't need 15 an hour to be a minnow. But sharks, they deserve all they can get because they know what to do with it. They use it to give us Amazon. Don't you want Amazon? We keep assuming conservatives defend the rich because they think they'll be rich someday. And sure, they would love to be, but it's more nuanced than that. They defend the rich because they believe the rest of us need the rich. We'd be lost without them. There should be no shame in being beneath the rich, not if the right people are rich. No shame in being a cog in the machine so long as the machine produces something beautiful. There is a real fear that everyone filling their prescribed role is the only thing keeping us from complete and total, not the fun kind, of anarchy. There is honor in being in your place and doing your best with it, most especially if your place isn't at the very bottom. The thing about hierarchies is they're self-similar on many scales. If you're in the middle, then you serve the king, Valar Dohaeris. But to everyone beneath you, you are the king. You've got a good job and a good wage. That gives you some power over people who don't. And getting pissed at those above implies that those below have a right to be pissed at you. And there's a real anxiety that liberals want to make room for those people in the middle.
This is very true. This is a good, kind of like a psychological look at it.
By putting conservatives at the bottom. And that those people will treat conservatives the way conservatives treated them.
They will call them the N-word, and they don't want that. That's one thing that they really don't want. Is when conservatives get called dead, it really triggers them.
Freedom, respect, and empathy
especially when they're poor.
Looked on as finite resources in a competitive market, just like jobs and scholarships. Also, most conservatives are white men, and so are most billionaires. So, but for the wealth, they actually have a lot in common, which makes it easy to empathize with billionaires and to feel empowered by seeing people like oneself do so well. And white men at the
Is this guy a psychologist?
top influence policy in ways that serve people like them, which materially benefits white men in the middle. The well-being of the white billionaire becomes a metonym for the well-being of all white men. A slight on them is a slight on all of us. White men want to believe that these billionaires earned their station, and not that their gender or race got them preferential treatment, because that would imply their own treatment may have also been biased in their favor, and maybe it's not the liberals giving people power they don't deserve. No matter how much a conservative believes in earning one's place, they have always in the back of their mind an image of what society should look like. And any discrepancy between imagination and observation must mean foul play. This feminist is too respected. This black superhero is too popular. Can't be because they're worthy. Someone must have put their hand on the scales. Someone got a freebie, or played the race card, or faked a scandal. This means even though they claim the hierarchy is natural, what they will or won't accept as legitimate is a gut feeling. If they like what they see, they take credit for it. If they don't, it's the left's fault. And what does it say about them that they see a bunch of white male sharks and think, yeah, that's authentic? The innate authenticity of wealth and power is the starting point. Like, okay, bear with me. You know when they open the door to Kingdom Hearts, and on the other side there's Mickey with his shirt off, and you're like, why would Mickey with his shirt off be on the other side of that door? And the answer is, I don't know, we'll figure it out in like 7 games. Rich people believing it's good for everyone that I'm rich is the starting assumption. That's Mickey with his shirt off. And conservatism is the pile of games where they make up reasons why that might be true after the fact. It's a retcon. This hierarchy is not democratic. It's birth by sleep of fragmentary passage. Savvy viewers may be remembering another political philosophy that is hierarchical, undemocratic, built on nostalgia, and that likes to cloak its policies in progressive camouflage.
Fascism.
And that's the one from 2 videos ago. Fascism.
Aha! I'm getting good at this. I'm loining. I can tell when they're dog whistling.
Now, I am not calling conservatives fascists.
But if you watch Vaush Vidya's video, he has a video about this where he talks about the political spectrum pretty intensely when he's making fun of some conservatives video. I can't remember which one it is. It's the little kid. It's the femboy, as he calls him. But he explains why fascism is on the right pretty intensely and accurately.
There are distinctions. Under fascism, the hierarchy is much, much less meritocratic, and the nostalgia is much, much older. However, conservative thinking is, at the very least, one that fascism maps more cleanly onto. Fascists appeal to this hierarchical mindset by portraying all of history as struggles between ethnic groups over who gets to be where. Someone's got to be at the bottom, white man. We'll make sure it isn't you. You'll find throughout history that fascist movements, though they often pick up dissidents from all over the political spectrum, the third position, for instance, is fascism for anti-capitalists, when they find purchase in a political party, it's pretty much always the conservative party. Look at France, look at Brazil, look at here. Whether you want to interpret that as conservatism being uniquely susceptible to fascists, or diet fascism being another name for conservatism, I leave that up to you. Fascism...
Hold on, I got a parrot singing here. That's hilarious. The parrot attacked him. It was like a guy playing Titanic. Oh, that was actually hilarious. They were like playing the Titanic thing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is such a detour. The parrot was like making weird sounds, and he just attacked the guy right for him. I don't think he was liking it.
And to an extent, libertarianism are roided up extrapolations of the hierarchical mindset, in the same way socialism and anarchy are extrapolations of the egalitarian one. We can see conservatism as a kind of compromise between fascism and democracy, and liberalism as a kind of compromise between capitalism and socialism. They are two different attempts to solve the tensions between these ways of thinking without giving either one up. You could just as easily claim that liberalism is watered-down, ineffectual socialism. A lot of the left would balk at that, but not me, pinko scum that I am. The most important thing to understand is that you cannot communicate with nor anticipate the behaviors of a conservative if you don't understand what they believe, which is hard because they're often in denial. You will never convince them to compromise on any attempt to break up the hierarchy, because even incremental change strikes them as revolutionary, and they feel they've made too many concessions already. You will never get them of their own free will to agree to government regulation, because the government as a democratic institution is inherently unnatural. If you don't like what a business is doing, you don't regulate it, you take your money elsewhere. You should favor the capitalist solution, not the democratic one. Also, when you vote with your dollar, people with more dollars get more votes.
Right.
They will never be on board with
the fundamental problem with money equaling speech is volumes of money equals volume of speech, and that's not necessarily how speech works.
Aiding the poor in any systemic way, and will instead champion charity and crowdfunding, because minnows getting to eat should always be framed as a gift rather than a right. You may get individual conservatives to come around on some of these, but as a body, they will never consent to any of it unless they can work it to their advantage, or if you have leverage over them. They will sign on when denying progressivism costs them something, because few things terrify them more than slipping down the hierarchy. And what's insidious is that most of us have this thinking ingrained in our own minds as well, myself included. We're all raised in the same culture. This is why they're able to control the conversation, because they can, with some priming, get us thinking in their terms. A nice upshot is our thinking is also ingrained in their minds, though they're a little bit better at fighting it. But as long as you're trying to meet this mentality in the middle, you are leaving the door open for fascists. Conservatism is, and always will be, vulnerable to them. A good defense against fascism is to consciously, intentionally, think and act in democratic terms. Because, newsflash, we're not actually lobsters. Neither of these systems is natural. They are choices we can make. I recommend this one because egalitarian thinking is one thing Nazis are bad at infiltrating. If you want to fight fascism, move left.
Yep. Be so easy to get a beat going, get some padded chords and some guitar. Something like that, you know.
I have suspicions that some of the claims I make in Always a Bigger Fish, that conservatism isn't at its core about fiscal responsibility, limited government, or the rights of the individual, but is about maintaining social hierarchies, that it believes people are fundamentally unequal and likes the free market because it sorts people according to their worth, and even softly implies capitalism itself may be innately anti-democratic, might raise some eyebrows. So I'm gonna show my work on this one. Two of the architects of conservative thought were Edmund Burke and Joseph de Maistre, who formulated much of their political theory while writing about the French Revolution. They, in turn, were influenced by earlier writings from Thomas Hobbes on the English Civil War. And what all three of these men were doing in writing about these wars...
That guy right there looks like that one fucking guy.
...was defending the monarchy. The sentiment that the masses should be powerless in the face of nobility was being challenged. And while these men thought the revolutionaries themselves were actually quite compelling, the democracy they were fighting for, Hobbes, Burke, and de Maistre found repulsive.
They were fucking redcoats.
Come the end of the revolution, when it seemed democracy might actually spread across Europe, Burke especially began to hypothesize ways that one's position within the aristocracy might be preserved even should the monarchy fall. He turned his eye to the market. So, okay, around the cusp of the 19th century, the prevailing economic theories were those of Adam Smith, who championed what's called the labor theory of value, which I don't super want to get into because there's like a billion videos about it already, but really briefly, if you take materials out of the ground and turn them into useful goods, it is that labor that makes the good more valuable than the raw material. And when someone buys that good, they cover the cost of the materials plus the value your labor has added to them. In contrast with this, what Burke argued was, well, a lot of nebulous things, but among them, that in fact, when a person of means buys a good, that, rather than the moment the good is produced, is when value is bestowed upon it. Value is not dictated by the producer, but by the consumer. Now there's like 2 centuries of argument about this. We're not going to dig into it all, but obviously this is in some sense true. If the people with money don't want to buy a good at a certain price, eventually the price will come down. So price is not solely dictated by labor. But what Burke does is claim that price and value are the same thing. No one ever gets cheated, no one ever gets a good deal. Whatever the buyer pays for the thing, that's what the thing is worth. Your labor is only as valuable as the degree to which it satisfies the desires of the moneyed classes. This was Burke's nod to the fact that within capitalism...
Yikes. Absolute yikes. On that one, mate. Yikes.
The wealthy held outsized influence, being that the more money you had, the more value you could dictate. And he argued that this was moral, that the wealthy deserved this influence. Burke was, by the way, wealthy. Sort of. He had a royal pension. What he felt the French Revolution revealed was not that oppressive nobility was bad, but
what that means is that you're a mouthpiece of the monarchy.
But that France must have just had the wrong nobles, because a proper aristocracy wouldn't have been overthrown. The problem
with that is that what wasn't being overthrown was the aristocracy, was the church rule. It was the religious institution.
Was, as we've discussed,
which these guys were probably religious since they were on a royal pension, which means you're a mouthpiece of the monarchy, which has divine mandate and manifest destiny. So,
not the hierarchy itself, but the wrong people being in power. The revolution had taught him that perhaps power should not come by birthright. Perhaps we needed a system whereby those deserving of power could prove their worth. This should ideally be war, but capitalism would suffice. The structure of royalty would continue to exist, simply derived by different means, because the structure of democracy, where on election day the nobleman has no more power than the commoner, was, to an aristocrat, profane. What the structure needed was some tinkering to make it democracy-proof. So that's Burke. Over the next century, democracy did, in fact, spread across Europe, and Burke's, and several others' theories of value were picked up and iterated on in what came to be known as the Marginal Revolution, by economists Carl Menger, Stanley Jevons, and this Valjean-looking motherfucker Leon Walras.
This guy, he plays Kingdom of Hearts. And he has opera references. This guy's an interesting character, I bet. Opera and Kingdom of Hearts. What's next? And he said show tunes. Is it show tunes?
Marginalism amped up the idea that it is a good's utility to the consumer, and not the worker's labor, that gives it value, which confers a unique power upon those with money, and brought this thinking into a post-monarchical world. Their theories became especially popular when people realized they could be used to rebut Marxism. Jevons was taught all over Europe, and Menger became core to the Austrian school. And by the time we get to the Austrians, this massive theories has, somewhere after Burke and before Hayek, coagulated into what we know of today as conservatism. These are among the most influential thinkers in conservative thought, and they're in a direct lineage with Burke and de Maistre. Now, while Burke is called the father of modern conservatism, these boys are not the alpha and omega of early conservative thought. But their ideas helped form the basis of conservatism and have never gone away. If you can point to some paradigm shift in the history of conservatism where the royalist sentiments of Edmund Burke and Joseph de Maistre were rooted out, I'd love to hear about it, because I listen to the thinkers championed by conservatives throughout the ages, and I keep hearing the same thing. That humans are innately unequal, and society flourishes when power is doled out to the deserving.
Yikes.
Friedrich Nietzsche was not a conservative, but was deeply influential on the early marginalists, and he claimed the purpose of society was to produce the handful of great men who created everything that made life worth living, believing, quote, "Only the most intellectual of men have any right to beauty, to the beautiful. Only in them can goodness escape being weakness." James Fitzjames Stephen, who wrote a book-length rebuttal against early progressivism, believed, quote, "To obey a real superior, to submit to a real necessity and make the best of it in good part, is one of the most important of all virtues, a virtue absolutely essential to the attainment of anything great and lasting." Hayek and Schumpeter believed, respectively, that, quote, "The freedom that will be used by only one man in a million may be more important to society and more beneficial to the majority than any freedom that we all use," and, quote, "What may be attained by industrial or commercial success is still the nearest approach to medieval lordship possible to modern man." He's saying it's a good thing, by the way. Need I mention Ayn Rand's belief that, quote, "The man at the top of the intellectual pyramid contributes the most to all those below him, but gets nothing except his material payment. The man at the bottom, who left to himself would starve in his hopeless ineptitude, contributes nothing to those above him, but receives the bonus of all their brains." The godfather of neoconservatism, Irving Kristol, echoing Burke's yearning for a good war, felt the hierarchy should extend beyond the borders of a single...
Okay, Ayn Rand has a lot of bad quotes, but she does have some good points. And she has some good critiques of some other people. Some of her stuff is worth reading, but when you take it out of context, it always sounds pretty bad. She had this way of kind of redefining words a little bit. So if you like read her earlier works and see how she redefines words, it does make a little more sense. It's not that bad. It's really more like moderate centrist stuff, but in this political sphere, it's pretty far right.
Country, believing, quote, "What's the point of being the greatest, most powerful nation in the world and not having an imperial role?"
Like, she calls for a really well-regulated market. like with enough oversight to where fraud and exploitation can't happen. Like she doesn't advocate. She advocates for everyone being able to work. She basically advocates for, a social democracy in some of her writing. I don't know about all of it though. I haven't read all of it. I've only read one book. It was a long time ago. It was like a series of essays of her and her protege. I think it was called Of Ethics and Reason or something like that. Oh.
And modern conservatives love the natural hierarchies of Jordan Peterson, who believes, quote, we keep behaving as though conservatism's disdain for equity isn't there, or if it is, that it's new. But it's been there since the beginning. Conservatism upholds the status quo and defends the powerful, first from democracy, then from communism, now from social justice. Conservatism has rallied every time a movement has tried to share power with the disadvantaged. They were against same-sex marriage. They were against giving women the vote. They were against freeing slaves. Note, I said conservatives, not Republicans. Do your research. Conservatives say we are the party of measured steps, of caution, of evolution over revolution. And that's usually just before they say, but now is the time for swift, decisive action. Most every Republican claims to be a break with tradition. This time, we're gonna flip the script, bend the rules, outspend Democrats, invade your privacy, and start a war with no exit strategy.
Trump said.
And that's what they've always said. All that changes is which continent the war is on. I'm not gonna say the slow, stodgy conservative doesn't exist, but it has never typified the party. Rhetorically, it's a character they bring out to contrast themselves with whenever they need to rally their reactionary base. They tell us that's what their party is like, and we just take their word for it. I don't feel the need to pretend that just because most democracies have a left wing and a right wing, that both are equally valid and moral. There is no rule that proves this. There's only the liberal sentiment that saying otherwise is poor sportsmanship, a standard the right does not hold itself to. Conservatism is a reactionary politics that has at best mixed feelings about democracy, where my biggest issue with liberalism is that it's ill-equipped to deal with the problem of conservatism and does not fully commit to its own democratic principles. I'm going into all of this not because I want to stick it to the people who insist I don't research my videos, although I a little bit do, but because we can't talk about the alt-right if we keep portraying them as a break with the conservative tradition. They are the conservative tradition, only more. There's nothing they believe that conservatives don't have a long history of being sympathetic towards. They're just usually more ambivalent about it. As I've said before, this is ultimately my interpretation of history, and while many experts agree with me, I am not an expert. But I do my homework. So, tell you what, I've made a post on Tumblr listing all the books, essays, and documentaries I'm consuming for this series.
Tumblr post, this guy. Okay. Tumblr. Kingdom of Hearts. Show tunes and opera music. What's next?
Up, the ones I've completed, and some notes on what I found valuable in them. I'm going to treat this as a living document and add to it as the work continues. Not that the people who say I just make shit up ever read the show notes, but I will keep a link in the show notes of every video, so if you want to check my work or research alongside me,
there they are.
You can do that. I have also live tweeted several books, including the primary source for this and the previous video, The Reactionary Mind by Corey Robin, under the hashtag Ian Live Tweets His Research. So if you want a play-by-play of an entire book complete with my own observations, that's where you can find it. So far, in addition to Robin, I've done Bob Altemeyer's The Authoritarians, Jason Stanley's How Propaganda Works, and one weird essay on Lara Croft I did for the Fury Road video. If you want to read more about the history of conservative philosophy, in addition to the reactionary
see what he's
mind,
doing there is he's testing his fucking subscriber base for gaming essays. Oh, cringe gaming essays in 2019. It just takes me all the way back to Clean Price Gaming. Oh, gaming essays. What was that guy's name? Yeah, it was murdered. There it is. Yep, Clean Prince. These videos are such clickbait. Yes. It's an essay.
Era, the studio found themselves lost. They ended up treading water in a place that knows
Oh, dude, this game is doing
boredom.
so well
Instead of
right
an
now.
immersive world, you get a world that ends up looking.
And he's saying
Sea
it's
of Thieves
fucking
is
dead.
boring as hell to
Ugh. If you noticed his, let's go back to his channel.
watch, but more importantly,
If you notice something about
nearly
his
impossible
videos, it's always whatever game is on the hot seat, he's making a video. Jeez. Yep. Look. Now he's not so negative anymore. This is just clickbait. He's just turned into another. Oh my god. Let's see, we gotta go back to his days before he got his shit called out. He changed everything up. He used to have this copycat thumbnail. This channel's only a year old. Wow. He deleted a lot of those fucking videos. Looks like he changed the thumbnails. Holy shit. They used to look different. They used to look just like that other clickbait guys. Oh, look, that's me. God, there is nothing going on today. Fuck, it's already 2:30. Alright. Alright, so I can't play Octane anymore. My Octane bonus ran out. I guess I'll just play Pathman. He's similar. Don't have any better skins. Whoa. I got a lot of thems. Grapple distance is a pretty important one, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I should spend it on that. Let's see. I got enough to buy like a fucking dope skin, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Now, I've got enough to buy one of those. An elite. Let's see, who's got the shittiest skin? Get him a good one. Do you have any unique ones? No. Probably go with that. These are probably all dumb. Yeah, none of these are really worth spending money on. It sucks. Cosmetics in this game are not thrilling. There's one. No. These are all garbage. God, dude, that's so much. They're all so bad. 400 crafting points. Yeah, it's definitely better to just buy fucking banners. 'Cause they're fucking cheap. You know, I can get a shit ton of banners that I want. Instead of dicking around with all that garbage. Yeah, I don't fucking care about Gibraltar. Fucking why not? She's decked out. Decked out. Decked out. See if I got any cool ones. You have two. Fuck. Oh, that kill level looks really bad. Gotta get that one going. Ooh, I play some Mirage. That sounds doable. Anyone else? Shotgun kills is kind of stupid. No, big numbers. No.
It all.
We'll stick with the festive skins. Hell yeah.
I just hope I don't have to fight with that smiling robot. I'm just kidding. He's fine. Everyone's fine.
Trust me, I know what I'm doing.
It's showtime.
So you get bonus XP for the first kill every week with one character. And you get bonus XP with them.
Introducing your champion.
Up until a certain point. So you basically have to like play a bunch of fucking characters. Damn it. Yo, yo.
Maybe we land here. Or maybe we don't. I'm fine with whatever.
I love this part. Holy!
Good choice, mate. Nice. Yeah, they're gonna duke it out on that box. Let's try to keep this high ground.
First blood. Should have seen that coming.
Sending out my decoy. Target.
There's one over there. I saw him shoot. Broke his armor.
Reloading.
He's inside. Second floor.
Throwing Arc Star.
Reloading. I got a
Okay.
bad guy.
Got him.
Say goodbye to that squad.
Good job.
Thank you.
Reloading.
Even though that was just the character. Fuck.
Round 1.
I'm not stoned.
Countdown.
Keep your mouth shut about that, okay?
Next ring's far.
Bad guy over there. Sending out my decoy.
There's one on me.
Someone's out there.
New kill.
Soon to be. Reloading. I'm down.
Fuck me. I'm dead. Nice save.
Come on, compadre. Get up. Come on, come on, come on. Yep, you are wonderful.
Reloading. Enemy down.
One more.
Reloading.
Beautiful, bro.
Squad. Patching myself up.
They're about to push.
Need to recharge my shields.
Gotta patch myself up.
Yeah, don't stand out there, man. Be careful. This game's fucking quiet. Hold on.
Enemies right here.
It's cool. We'll use you as bait.
Taking fire.
That was sad.
Look at that. I beat you.
Go ahead. Damn, it's already been an hour and a half. Wow. I didn't plan on the stream going on for that long. Oh. It's a weird server here. Yeah, oh, it's daily for the hero kills. Holy shit. Okay, so if you basically just like hot drop with each character every day, you get like a good amount of XP. I'm not sure if the Octane XP is even worth it at this point, since I've already worn through all his bonus. I guess it's daily. And we're through it. You know what I'm saying? I gotta disconnect. How do people leave from this? I don't understand it. Do they just like quit?
This is going to be fun. These legs weren't made for walking.
Should be dope.
This is your champion.
We should land there. Looks like fun.
Okay.
Can you feel the speed? Yeah, baby!
It's good speed. You know, I've been watching that new Ricky Gervais show. That shit pulls on your heart, man. It's pretty funny, but it's pretty dark. It's really weird.
Engaging. Reloading. Down that one.
Whoop.
I am taking fire for frag out. Throw it. Enemy spotted.
I don't have a gun. This isn't going well for me.
Flashlight.
Here I go.
Dude, this is rated. It's all rated.
Look out, grenade. Just us left.
Round 1.
Grenade out.
Beginning your
Using
countdown.
grapple.
Beautiful.
Reloading.
Rated.
Whole squad ate my dust. Let's do that again.
Did you do it?
It's go time. Got the banner. Should head to the beacon.
Did you actually kill everyone? No, you didn't.
Making contact.
I don't have a gun, man. This is bad for me.
Contact. I am taking fire, friends.
There are no guns. There's just no guns here.
Engaging.
This place is supposed to be high tier loot.
Must go faster.
People have already left. Oh, what the fuck is that? This isn't going well, man.
Sudden someone says. Yeah, it was pretty shit.
I don't have any weapons still. There's people everywhere. There's a guy right fucking in front of me.
Mira, someone's out there. They're
I'm just playing Dishonored 2 right now, man. That's all I'm playing. This is rated. We're in the wake of like 9 teams or something. God's dead.
I am down.
I'm dead. There was no point in being respawned into that game.
There's a win out there waiting for us.
Trying out the new Pathman
We will
buffs.
defeat all of our enemies.
Faith will be on our side, Flight Fighter.
This is your champion.
Yeah, better not drown with me.
Right.
Prepare for battle.
Let's explore this way.
Come on, Jesus. Here we go. Yes. That'll keep unarmed people away. Oh, we loot in peace.
First blood.
First blood, and it's not us. Wonderful.
That was a beautiful slide attempt. This doesn't have a barrel. Right?
Round 1. Beginning ring countdown.
Lucky us.
I'll take two of them. Fuck it. I just kinda like this gun.
Appointed has been eliminated.
It's kinda accurate. Doesn't have a lot of range, but it's controllable. Let's see.
Let's explore this way. Grappling.
Not sure. I think someone's targeting me.
This a look looted. Motherfucking fuck, motherfuck. I hate this gun. Gotta get skin for it though. It would be so dope if you could put that there.
Level 1.
I need energy ammo.
There's a respawn going on in Hydro. Whoa.
I'm taking shots. Opening. Contact with target. Reloading.
Coming.
I've been making contact with enemy. Contact with hostile.
Frag out.
Fuck. He's somewhere in there, I think.
Frag out. Frag out. Enemy
Knocked one.
reloading.
He actually fucked that up.
Before the reloading. Good job, me. Whole squad down.
Oh, you got go down first.
I got you, friend.
Outplayed him.
Thanks for that.
I got you, friend.
That was clutch. Even though there's only 2 people.
It wasn't my time.
Patching myself up.
You gotta admit that guy played himself.
30 seconds remain. Safety is an arrow shot away.
Ooh.
Need to recharge my shields.
Peacekeeper here. Flatline here.
I'm taking that actually. Fuck it.
Medkit here.
Almost there. We are close to the ring.
I need heavy ammo.
Warning.
Need to recharge my shields.
Progress.
The ring is moving, fellow fighters. No one is inside.
Let's go this way.
There we go. This one's gonna be more for like close range. Fuck yes, man.
I need energy ammo.
I'm about to end up swapping this out.
Marking our surroundings.
Good shot at from Hydro.
Attention. Delivering care package.
It might be a Kraber.
Incoming care package. I love loot.
Contact with target.
Zipline. Zipline here.
They spotted me. I'm taking shots. Opening fire.
Here, take the balloon, take the balloon. I got a zip line to Balloon Town. Quickly before they push you.
Might be something good this way.
Void running.
Frag out.
There's two teams fighting here, so be super careful.
Let's go this way.
Told you to be careful.
I am taking fire, friends. Frag out. Frag out. Throwing arc star.
Got one.
Thermite grenade out. Reloading.
They're low.
Watch out.
No.
Shooting at me.
Just got the aggression.
Ready to fly on a zip line. I am. Reloading. Don't worry, I'm here.
Thank you.
Hostile close. Going to check it out over there. Hostile close.
I gotta recharge real quick.
Taking a look.
Reloading.
Beautiful. Don't worry, we got you, man.
In possession of our brother.
Bro, that was amazing.
Michael_block00 says. Yet.
Giving my shields a recharge.
There we go, there we go. Come on. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna take him, I'm gonna respawn him real quick.
Grappling.
There's plenty of loot here for you. We got plenty of time.
Michael_block00 says. THX.
Hell yeah, man. I wish I had a. Oh, I've got a.
Ready to fly on a zip line.
Zipline should be fine. Oh yeah, perfect.
Medkit here.
Only 2 other squads left.
Yep, I need to swap this out. I need light ammo if anyone's got it. And fuck it, never mind, I'll go shotty. That.
Taking a moment to heal.
All right.
Repairing.
1 minute remains. The ring is close.
Yeah, there's good shit all over here.
45 seconds. Ring's close.
Oh.
Catching myself up.
So beautiful.
I'm taking fire. Marking our surroundings.
Here, I'll get us out of here.
Recharging my shields.
I'm gonna break line of sight with them real hard.
Might be something good this way.
Recharging my shields.
Warning. Ring closing. Attention. Delivering care package.
Incoming care package.
Where the fuck did he go?
Target spotted.
Such a fucking whip.
Fire on the enemy.
One's pushing us. Got one.
Reloading. Enemy down.
Reloading.
Reloading.
Reloading. I downed a hostile.
Reload. Healing up. Eyes are open though.
Recharging my shields.
The fuck did that fucking
Beginning ring countdown.
downed bitch go? Yo, where did that wraith go?
I need shields.
Oh, shit, yeah, you're fine. Oh, you don't have any?
Shield battery here.
Reloading. I took an enemy's life.
Beautiful.
Reloading.
Patching myself up.
Fuck.
Thank you.
Here I go.
No. I just don't want to be like in that situation ever. We gotta fucking move. I'll zipline us up there. Oh wait, hold on. I don't have any heavy ammo. I need to loot. I gotta loot. Don't use that zipline.
Recharging my shields.
Here we go. Okay, I'm good.
Target over there.
We gotta find another way.
1 minute. The ring isn't far. Let's explore this way.
There's cover here.
I'm taking shots.
Defending this area sounds good to me.
Recharging.
I am taking fire.
Defending this area sounds good to me.
Taking a moment to recharge.
Going to phase.
Nades out. He's a bad shot.
I think someone's targeting me.
Reloading.
Took out a hostile.
Reloading.
10 seconds. The ring's close.
Recharging my shield.
We got this, we got this. Yeah. He's repositioning now. I'm gonna move under him.
Giving my. I'm fighting here.
Heads up. The ring's moving. Coming in.
Gotta go this way now. Once you get under him, there's nothing you can do. Is he the only one?
Reloading.
I'm trying to get up over him.
Patching myself up.
Yeah.
We have a winner.
Michael_block00 says. Yes.
You are the Apex champion.
Well earned. Did fine. 4 kills, that's nothing to write home about. Didn't even interact with the kill champions. That was a positioning fight. That was fun. Wait, did I get my thing? Yeah. Alright, yo. I gotta get ready for work. I might be on later tonight. Good times, though. Good times.